Rain on me. Good night, good evening, good night, good morning, good afternoon to whichever part of the world you're now joining me from. This is Dr. Matthews live on the GMS Live Voice of Democracy. Democracy. Good evening to you all from Guyana. What a beautiful day. If you turn on the GMS Live Radio Guyana, the music is wonderful, wonderful gospel. So we're going to take a few minutes as you get to log yourself in, and we will get right back to you. In the meantime, share the live, share the live. Let everyone know that Dr. Matthews is in the air, is on the air. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning to whichever part of the world you're now joining from. So, have you ever downloaded the app as yet? That app would be the GMS Live Radio Guyana that is found on the Play Store. To those who have Android, to those who have the Android phones with the Android operating system that you will get your Google Play Store on, you can go there. You can type in Citrus Tree Radio, Citrus 3 as in the number 3 radio apps. Press the search button, and when it comes up, you go into it. And when you go into it, you can type in GMS Live Radio Guyana, and I'll pop right up. It's hard to find the identification of the app. It's me. You see my face. It's not hard to find at all. So you download it to your device, whichever device you have, a phone, television, digital radio. Download it, and then you enjoy the radio station. So once again, good night, good evening, good night, good morning, good afternoon to whichever part of the world you're joining from. Welcome to this, the GMS Live Voice of Democracy and the GMS Live Radio Guyana. A pleasant good evening to you. Thumbs up fire. Okay, so prepare yourself. Tonight is that call in night. Remember, I said every Friday you'll have the opportunity to call in. You can voice your frustration, you can voice your opinion of the political situation or the state of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, and you can call in and you can make that time where you can call in and have your say in this conversation. In the meantime, let me make sure that yes. In the meantime, let me make sure that I'm preparing now to get on with today's business. So you can call in. I don't have a problem. In the meantime, before you call in, I will make sure that I voice my frustration to to let you know where I stand with this de facto administration or this de facto regime as a matter of fact, because this is not an administration. They were never legally they have never legally assumed office in the most legal manner via way of constitution. So don't have to worry about them. So in the meantime, without further ado, let me start tonight's program. Good evening to you from Guyana to the Caribbean and around the world. Good evening to you once again. My name is Dr. Gavin Matthews. pleased to meet pleased to be on this program tonight. Black Love to you all. Black Love is a brand that is owned by me, patented by me for the sale of the upliftment and the continued continued progress of the revolution. So you can call, you can have your purchase like today. Today to the persons who I collected for today your set of orders that went off to be printed on. To those who are still waiting on your orders, I think I made not I think I made some contact with the individual today in New York that left. So he is on the verge of having your stuff being received by you. So I'm working with him, to make sure that you receive your stuff to all those who had ordered and waiting on their stuff. There are people who had ordered and waiting on their stuff since last week, roughly, yeah, or last 2 weeks. Well, yeah, last week. So I'll make sure to see that you get your stuff either by tomorrow or Sunday. I want to thank you very much for patronage and for your continued patronage. And I would like for you to at least tell people, share the news about the brand and let them know what it's for. And we can have the continued assistance given for the strength and the development of the Gavin Matthews show and online radio, which promotes the revolution of Black love and to stand against tyranny, murder, terrorism, racism, and bigotry by this de facto administration. So, welcome to you all. Uh, as I always say, tonight is Friday night. It is a call in night. It's a call in segment. You can call in and voice your opinion in any topic. I need you to understand that when you're voicing your opinion, there's no proliferated words. Guyanese say cuss words. You understand? Or profane words. But we still say cuss. So don't call on cuss. I don't need another thing I don't need from you is the racist taunt. Don't sound racist because you're not. Okay? It's good to call, Good to mention, good to speak your mind, and I very much appreciate that. Right? So, without further ado, let me start my own frustration. The frustrating thing for me is that if Fraud Ali called for a national day of prayer today, but what tends to bother me is that this is the same administration between 1990, sorry, between 2000 and 2012 13 that had Guyana in a state of anarchy. We were being murdered in the streets. And it seems to me like we fell asleep at the wheel. This is the same administration that is back here again, the same de facto administration that is back here again, trying to behave to you like if they're Lord, God, and holy. Mr. Ear Fraud, did you remember MFK that had the MFK supermarket at the corners of Hatfield and I think it's High Street, opposite the Parliament's building? Do you remember him? Do you remember the people that was held for his murder? Hmm? Do you remember that? Do you remember the same person that they call Two Colors that's in jail used to work at the Ministry of Tourism when you were a minister there? Air fraud? You forgot that part? Or it seems to me that we forgot that part. Huh? It's the same thing. It's the same people. It is the same thing. And you calling for a national day of prayer. Listen to me. And listen to me very carefully. Once you commit the crime or you're responsible for the crime and nothing is done about it, the crime is left unsolved. You can choose your choices, but you can't choose the consequences of your choices. Now you're praying to the same God. You're going to put on your, I don't know what it's called, it, the Muslim hat. And you know, the thing is that you're making a mockery out of the thing. For a religious man, you're making a mockery because the man that you got next to you is responsible for 1,480 deaths that was unanswered for in Guyana. And then you praying for peace when you took peace away from Guyana and Guyanese. You forgot Order 60. Mm? You forgot Order 60. It's still alive. It's still fresh in the people's minds. I know you must hate me by now, very much, but I gotta keep waking Guyanese up. I can't let them fall asleep at the wheel. I can't. It's impossible. It's impossible. I can't pass that. I wanted to know if we forgot. It is the same name that is being called for the murder of Crummy Wing. You know, the thing is that all of you who sits at the head of the helm of this terrorist regime are involved or are fingered or are responsible for heinous crimes
committed on Guyanese. Check it out. Anil Crummy Wing. A fraud, well, 19 fraud, and plus MFK. Then you got the rat, 1480 plus counting. And these boys walking around like if everything is bright and beautiful. Seriously. These boys walking around like if everything is bright and beautiful. Like we suddenly forgave them. Forgiveness is between you and God, but it's us to arrange the meeting. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm arranging the meeting between you and God. All of you pack of criminals that sit at the top there. It's me to help to arrange a meeting between you and God. Definitely. So I make sure that you can't miss it. This is what frustrates me tonight, yes. And the thing is that another thing that frustrates me is the news media asking questions that these boys think that they're good at. Oh man, members of the media, oh. Yeah, I can't let these boys to play like if, they're Lord God Makakia's son. He talk about the Working People Alliance quiet when democracy was taken from Guyana. I beg your pardon to the news media. I beg your pardon because y'all was quiet when we were murdered. We're being murdered in the streets. You couldn't talk then because then you were afraid to say something because you're talking against a murderous regime. Regime. So the only people you used to talk is Kaicho News. You forgot? Murderous rampage throughout Guyana took 13 years for the disappearance and murder of 1,480 Guyanese. Imagine that amount. 100, 1,480 Guyanese. And nothing in your follow up on that. Nothing. Talking about WPA and where they were when questions are asked pertaining to the functions of this de facto regime. You can imagine this boy, this little child, has the audacity. Y'all watch. Y'all mark my words who watching this program tonight. A time is going to come when woe beyond to the many. A time is going to come. So the number is 592-611-6575. You can call in and say what frustrates you with the ongoing political system in this country that's taking away our rights, our sovereignty, and constitution. So the number again, 611-6575. You can straight call or WhatsApp. You must, to those who calling from overseas, is plus 592-611-6575. To those who are calling locally home in Guyana, you can still put the 592, but you can put 611-6575. I'll be able to not only take your call, but have that conversation with you. So The time is ready. Call in. Let me know what frustrates you. Talk to me. Let's talk to each other. Yes, to that person who talking about the CCJ, Caribbean Court of Justice president, he can go and shake anybody's hand. Anybody could shake anybody's hand. Doesn't really bother me. We can look at them as corrupt elements, yes, but nothing that they do surprises me. Nothing that anybody does with this de facto regime surprises me. It shouldn't surprise you. What we need to ask is, what are we doing about it? What are we standing up for? What are we planning to do to make things better in this country? What are the circumstances are we willing to invoke to make sure betterment comes our way? Are we willing to preserve the future for our future generation? Or are we looking to do not and sit back, relax, and watch the country tumble as it is? What are we doing about it? Oh, it looked like I haven't gotten enough sleep, but I had. I don't know why I'm yawning, but the time is ready. You can call in. Don't matter what they do, only God can forgive. God say He still, I know I am God. He's calling for prayer, but the heart is not clean. Still have, was it, thing on his mind. The mere fact is that what Irfan and the acting, all these acting people are doing with today, with the daily, you call it day of prayer, is mocking God. Because their intention is to call out the community of the religious bodies, to suppress them some more. You see, today they had a day of prayer, look and see tomorrow. Suppression and oppression continues. So, what are we praying for? Well, I'm trying to find out. What are we praying for? We had a national day of prayer for what? Deliverance? Or that we can be united under what? Under tyranny and murder and dissolution of the Constitution? Do we unite under such circumstances? When you're taking away people's inalienable rights, you expect them to unite with you on the prayer? I mean, I'm sorry for those pastors that turn up there to pray, but I am not going to pray with this cruel and terrorist regime. No. I'm not asking God for no forgive who? Them you talking about? Eh, you got to be kidding me. To forgive who? I ain't forgiving nobody. I'm not forgiving anyone. Sorry. I ain't going to stand up and hold prayer and ask God to forgive nobody. You know, it's the same thing that we're talking about over and over. When the watch, you don't think that a fraud knows that he's been affected by the constant banging, especially from the Gavin Matthews show, about their illegal and illicit activities? They know. Now they're turning to the bodies, the religious bodies that they make sure they provided at least $150 million since last year for the Faith Initiative program, Faith Based Initiative, sorry, the FBI, that they provided $150 million, that they can call them out. Yes, boys, we got a national day of press. Imagine, you imagine that criminalized crook calling for a national day of prayer. That hypocrite, of course. And then in the same time, when was asked about the people look just like he who spat on the young police officers, the female police officer, and called her nigger and tell you this why black people don't go ain't got no way, ain't got in any way. Then he's looking to say, let those institutions work. When he's the executive over those same institutions, he has the powers to say to Mr. Blanham, look, investigate that story and charge that man if he's found guilty. No. He has that power because he's executive, he's a chief law enforcement officer. Hold on. Thank you for calling the GMS Live Voice of Democracy in the GMS Live Radio Guyana. Go ahead. Good night.
Having Matthew, it's a long time I didn't call you, but I just called because I know what to call it, right? Anyway, them people come up and pray here today, marching on the road, say all your day for prayer. The man pregnant, you know. The man like a bitch. The man frightened. Why you think the man called for prayer? The man frightened. I tell you about him, the man frightened. Y'all touching me. Y'all touching me. It's something.
I don't want to touch
Something
him.
regular.
I don't want to touch him. I want to put him in handcuffs and put him aboard a plane and send him to the Hague. I want somebody to be charged because we can't charge them. I want the International Criminal Court to charge them for the
Yeah.
crimes that they committed. You understand? They're calling for a national day of prayer.
Yes. Yeah. The man them marching this road and pray calling out everybody for the dark forces to go to the dark forces that people see they're losing, and then they want this mighty forces people who looking after everybody. They want to take them out. They want to take out the right people that are there, and the people must pray to it. People must pray. It's touching. It's touching. Y'all go on, go on, go on. All right then. Good night.
Good night. Good night. Good night. Thank you very much for calling in. Okay? Yes. The National Day of Prayer. Y'all could call in. Tonight is the National Calling Night of Callings. Call in and tear them up. Because I know what they're praying for. Which God they're praying to. When you done responsible, it was the hurtful thing, right? They say Fabs Burnham do all sorts of things. He did this and he did that and the vex with he because he banned this and he banned that. I understand. But I never read in none of them books that he's responsible for 1,400 and something lives of Guyanese that were murdered by his regime or by his henchmen. I never heard that. I never read about that. What that happened on the bar jog deal? That happened on the bar jog deal. And when Irfan was minister too, he was part of the government. So I don't really understand what's going on. Before you go and ask God for some national day of prayer for peace, answer to the crimes that you committed against the Aboriginals of Guyana, or we say black people. Answer for those crimes and the crimes that you're still committing. Hmm? Answer for those crimes. I ain't understand what's going on. Suddenly you turn person. Eh? Suddenly, if you understand what's going on, really, share criminals sudden turn persons. They suddenly turn man of God. These criminals, you could imagine that they suddenly turn man of God. The calling number is 592-611-6575. Calling, let's talk. What frustrates you? Tonight is your night, guys. I don't want to talk all night and just don't have the time to give you to call in. Call in, now's the time. I will listen to you. I'll make sure that you get your time to pitch what frustrates you, not only on the live stream but also on the radio also too. So as I say again, the calling number is 592-611-6575. You can call in straight or by WhatsApp number, doesn't mind. As I'm sitting here to receive your call, and let's have that conversation of what frustrates you. But I'm talking again about the ridiculous nature in which, here is the amazing thing. Look at the people who's in charge of the National Day of Prayer. Here, fraud. Oh, sorry, we gotta call the commissioner, the acting commissioner police. Here, kids. Look, the people. I mean, you check all them heads of bodies for the de facto regime. Look and see who leading the National Day of Prayer. Man, them people can ask God for cleanse them first for them dirty thing to do. Hmm? For them dirty thing to do. You could imagine a man spit on a female police officer. The thing is that when he did that, she didn't know that she has the right to arrest him right away because under the laws of the guidance of the Guyana Police Force, and when you may arrest, what he did was an abuse not only to the person in uniform but abuse to the law because that person that's in police uniform, it is the protector of the law. So the minute you abuse any policeman in or female in uniform, you're liable to be arrested for the crimes that you have just committed. Imagine he spat on that woman. I'm making it sound so diplomatic. Called she a nigger and then turn and tell she that's why black people can't then no way. By the nursing some wounds by now. I telling you. Because them boys can't live. The amazing thing? Them boys can't even represent themselves. You roll up in front of them right now. The pain and kung sin at the same time. Them boys can't represent themselves. I know, but them boys got gun in the waist and frightened to pull it out because the shock. Oh, the amazing thing is that you check and see who did this get for do all them evil things. It's people like me and you to represent them. Well, we got the money. Says you got the money now, you can get your instrument. You could imagine, I sorry the girl wasn't me sister boy or me mother. I telling you, Oh my gosh. Seriously. And you calling for National Day of Prayer. And then the boy father trying to apologize, but not him. He ain't apologizing shit. Excuse my language. Well, I'm the narrator. But he ain't apologizing. Mr. Carlton feels so ashamed that he tried apologizing on behalf of his son, but his son ain't even moving. It's so when you bring up your children in a racist environment, you teach them racist things. Now they become a product. They become a product of your actions. Oh, you think they just get like that? You think they suddenly get like that? No, they grew up in your house hearing you talk bad but black man. They grew up in the house hearing you saying things. I sure the racist bigot. But you sit down and hear how you send black man to jail and do all kind of thing and laugh at it. And he, within his faculties of his mind, looking to see what his father or mother is doing. And it created the force of evil from within. You know, I had a conversation the other day with a young friend of mine. It's not of this country. And I told him, I said, I don't know why they just blame the devil. I told him that. I said, I just don't know why we just blame the devil. Because as far as I'm concerned, I never hear the devil do the things that we just do. All I heard the devil is do is try to tell you in your mind how evil you can become. This is all I heard. I never hear he do the things that we just do. And he was astonished. Maybe he was waiting to hear what am I about to tell him. And I said, I know a man walked into a church where people were praying, a prayer session, prayer warrior session, and shot and killed 9 people. 9 of them. I never hear the devil was responsible for that. A man walked into a preschool and shot 25 children, friend. 25. No, sorry. It was 20 children and 5 adults. Shot and killed them. The children that he shot and killed, the biggest was 4 years old. Them babies innocent. I never hear the devil was responsible for that. Roger Shahid Khan told the U.S. District Court in New York he confessed to the murders of 200 Guyanese being responsible for under the Jack Dio regime. I never heard the devil was responsible for that. These are men who claim to be human beings, responsible for the deaths of hundreds of Guyanese, 1,480. And then you tell me about a national day of prayer? Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. You know, it amazes me how the news media treats certain things because nobody's asking the right questions. Nobody's asking the right questions. When a group of men who are not Guyanese walked into the village of Lusignan and shot and killed women and children under the Jagdeo regime, I never heard it was the devil responsible for that. Because I would really like to see him. I'm seeing the man who's responsible for it. And then he's praying to God for peace. Seriously. A group of men walked into Bartica, had a massacre. I never heard was the devil nor his minions. Unknown assailants went and assassinated a sitting minister of government under the Jagdeo regime. Saturday Osai, you can remember him? You could remember him? Assassinated a sitting minister of government and his family, or whosoever went in the house. I never heard it was the devil. Seriously. I never heard it was the devil. The man who's asking for a national day of prayer when he took over the realms by being installed as an illegal government in this country, send home 3,000 public servants out of them black to cause and to create tyranny within the household and the neighborhood because of the lack of jobs and economic benefits. There wasn't the devil. You know there was who? You could imagine. You're right. Mr. Nirvana, what's your name? Bagwandin. You're right. If the devil see me pick up a chair and run, because he know what I gonna do, he know what he gonna do, 'cause he can't do nothing. That's why you responding. Because you like see me, you must be running right now. You could imagine. hmm? You could imagine. And y'all don't like when we talk y'all name. Shahid Roger Khan, there's enough evidence. That's enough evidence admitted to the US Circuit Court in New York via a plea bargain that he was responsible for over 200 deaths of Guyanese under the Jagdeo regime, and he was never charged and tried when he came home. Subtract that out to the 1400, you could imagine how much more died. It cannot be found. I want the same minions with up on this comment section to call in. I want y'all call in. Call in. Ring the number because it's tonight. It's telling me what's on your mind by the frustration. What this person said? The people who were slaughtered in Guyana were by your so-called Buxton freedom fighters. You see what I'm talking about? You could imagine. Look what they're talking about. Buxton freedom fighters. Here, let me tell you something. So we're trying to tell me that the Buxtonians was responsible for bringing in a containers full of arms and ammunition that got the money. Are you trying to tell me the Buxtonians were responsible for shipping drugs into the country that got the money? As far as I see it, I don't think the Buxtonians has the money. You know where the drugs is come from? People like y'all. You know where the guns is come from? The people like y'all. This is the only way you thrive under crime, illegal and illicit activity. This is how you thrive. This is why every time you raise up in business, the US Chambers of Commerce that is here in Guyana asks you, fine, but according to the Anti Money Laundering and Terrorism Act law, you have to show me how you accumulate your money before you get into the oil and gas sector. Show me how you accumulate your money. Me got problem. Show me how you get it. Don't tell me you're like the barrel minister who says she saved barrels all the days and then she suddenly acquired the wealth. You see where I coming from? And to those who are looking, we still drop into sleep at the wheel. Yes, black love to you. Black love to you. Watching from, of course, the mining town. Oh, and to the Lindeners, there is a problem that's now being raised. The people who took over the nursing institute that trains the nurses in Guyana, the new leaders, are just making available for nursing association offices to be opened in regions 5, I think regions 3 and number 4. The people in Linden, the young women in Linden who wants to become nurses has to travel from Linden to Georgetown every day to find the passage that they don't have to come to town. You could imagine that. That's an issue that I wanted to raise to some of them who tried to get into the nursing association over the years. You understand? Here, I like with the PPP minions that is coming they show. You can tell that they're how should I gotta get like a professional way to put it over. Their level of understanding cannot go beyond an inch of their index finger. And I understand why. It is hard for you to comprehend. You see, when you're a slave, you could only say what the master say. Imagine you're living in the same country and you become blind because you could only hear what the master hear. I understand you. I can't blame you. You're a product of the system, the PPP system. Can't blame you. So we got to understand where this de facto regime is going. This de facto regime and this country ain't going nowhere. We're going down a rabbit hole. And we killing ourselves over chump change. Change that don't make sense in the business world. You could imagine more and more businesses coming to Guyana to invest in a multi-billion-dollar structure, an empire. And majority of the money, over 80% of it, is going back out to Guyana. It ain't remaining in Guyana. Imagine the rat, the how should I put it over? The de facto vice president is telling you, oh, he's talking to the business community and he's hoping that they consider employing Guyanese. I mean, you consider and you're hoping that they employ Guyanese? What kind of man is you? Oh, yes, and I remember, you're the devil himself. You don't care about nobody, you care about yourself. Oh, you're right, love and hate cannot be friends. You understand? And I think, okay, yeah, just did the magnificent thing there. hmm So here we have it. On this day of calling, this National Day of Calling on the Gavin Matthews Show, by calling 592-611-6575 and talk about what frustrates you and what you can do to remedy the problem. Because tonight is Friday night that belongs to you, the Guyanese people home here and in the diaspora on the Gavin Matthews Show. And we can continue talking about all these things all night. At the end of the day, it's the same thing. How can the devil ask God for forgiveness when there's no forgiveness in his heart? How can ear fraud ask for peace when he has never created peace? Up to now, we still don't. One simple question was asked of him. The question was, why doesn't the police make further actions or the court for Mr. Nirva Singh that spat on the young lady? Oh, shoot, I forget. I forgot. He can't be interested in her affairs because she's black. I now remember. He cannot be interested in her affairs because it's somebody like himself spit on a black woman. I now remember. So he's looking on the same institution that is predominantly black to investigate. Well, I gonna wait for the investigation. You didn't waiting for me on though. You didn't waiting on mine. You make sure that they came and they picked me up at the Square Revolution and took me away. You make sure that the police came and kidnapped me. Yes. Because I wasn't taken away, that's kidnap. When you violated my rights, it's kidnap. You make sure that that process happen. Quick! But for the process of the investigation of the young policewoman that was spat upon, her own colleagues can investigate. Why we can't go there? This is the ex-chief justice and chancellor's son. We can't go there. Why? Them people got presidential connections. And then the commander said, no, we can't investigate. We gotta wait for orders. As usual. We gotta wait for orders. And if the orders ain't say nothing, we can't do nothing. It's the president people. Big in your butt. Them boys can't even represent themselves. If they're sleeping in their poop, see they jump out, they sleep with heart attack, cause they feel somebody attack them. This how frightened they frightened. This is why when they look at me, when they look at this structure, 6 foot 2 inches tall, Aboriginal, this money. The heart got thumped hard in the chest. Cause I want to know what's my next move. Well, here, me next move will always be that. Not afraid of you. Can't do me nothing. Frighten y'all. Boys who frightened for talk. Frightened for say certain things. Well, I can't say certain things because, I get paid by the government, and I can lose my pension. I can lose a lot of things. Yes. And this how they got us. So when they call we now, when they say, look, go and pick up the one. I'll go and pick you up by. Here the first thing is commentary by. Here what happened by. The big man say we got to pick you up, charge you, you know, like what it is normally do. Send the poor police. We're trying to make a living. We're trying to feed the family. For harass the innocent. Because he ain't got a choice. The commander or the commissioner of police instructed him. Failing to do so is a neglect of duty, which is punishable by dismissal. Yes, under the police standing orders, it says so. Failing to do so as instructed is a neglect of duty. Its disciplinary effect is it can be immediate dismissal from the Guyana police force. It doesn't matter how much years you got or which rank you are, you can lose everything, corn and husk. It happens. I can tell you that. I can tell you about some friends I know that people did them things in the police force and they lost everything. Everything. I can tell you one who had 18 years of service. 18 years of service. Lost all his benefits. Because why? The man who took over duty from him realized that he failed to enter certain things into the logbook, and he confiscated those things that wasn't entered into the logbook accidentally. So what happened? That man was dismissed from the Guyana police force, and he lost everything. All his years of service, everything. And the most hurtful part is that some of those things were, I believe all of those things were found. They happened to find it in a particular place that was stashed. And nothing came out of the matter. The individual who did him that was even promoted. I think he's an assistant superintendent. Yep. When I was a young policeman, I used to laugh at election day. We used to go, well, I was in the presidential guard. So State House was big Africa. Because all the black man used to there. And when the president used to live then at Hordmanston, the time was Barrett. There was Little India. I used to crack myself up with laugh. Up to now, I still laugh about it. When I sit down and remember some of those things, I just still laugh about it. Sometimes you go into particular areas and you see outright racism, but you gotta go because you know why. You're a bodyguard. You gotta protect the president. Then was Barrett. Yes. A lot of people who now come, didn't know I was a presidential guard. Didn't know I was seconded to Barrett Jack Dio as one of his bodyguards. Yes. How you think I could talk about all these things? one thing about Gavin Matthews, I have a refrigerated memory. I remember things that affects me a lot. And I talk about them because these are things that happened in public. I don't got time for the personal life. All they want to live their life, this their business. The things that you did to Guyanese that affected them physically, spiritually, and morally. That's what I talk about. When I was a policeman, I saw my colleagues being murdered in the street. Every day you open newspaper, you see a policeman found with a hole in the head or shot 3 or 4 times about the body. Every single, if it's not a day, it's a week. Twice within 1 week, 2, 3 policemen dead at one time. And they were dying. If not a policeman dead, 5, 6, 7, 8 young men dead. And none of them past the age of 21. A lot of young men died. People were dying. They were dropping like flies. You calling for a national day of prayer for peace. When you took peace away from Guyana, you don't remember that? No, you want peace when you don't commit the crime? Oh, man, you're a fraud. Now you take me for the people like you, buddy. Nobody ain't no preschooler. We now learning phonics. You do the crime. You got to understand that the consequences that come behind it, you can't choose that. You can't choose that. Yes, who calling for National Day of Peace? Air fraud, Ali. Now you want National Day of Prayer for Peace. When them boys done murder little young men in the streets. They don't take away 3,000 public servants. To my dear friend who just joined, remember when you used to got to feed the Linden nurses when the night come? Because they were locked out from their jobs? Because they refused to take the covert injection and all these kind of things. You can remember that? It was under the regime. You can imagine this devil. Don't blame here. Big conversation tonight. Don't blame the devil. Because you and me never see yet in my life. I see people who act demonic, worse than the devil. Because I grew up in a church. I know I grew up in a church. I'm from since I growing up in the church, I hear about the devil, but I never hear we do these things. I never hear you can remember Jiffy Lubes? Under Jack the old time when he was president, the find he hid in some trench. You can remember Big Bad Euclid? With the Jack the old government housed him when he was a fugitive in Brazil. They gave him asylum here. Soon to come back into this de facto regime, soon to come back to the install. By turn up and finish it off. You could imagine 2 men come out of a car with Klavashnikovs. You know what's Klavashnikovs, right? AK-47. That's the name. Klavashnikovs is the name. Klavashnikovs 47. I finish off this buy and up to now, police can't find them 2 men. They can't even find the car. The last set of people that got gunned down during Jack Joe regime. I could never forget that morning. It was a bright and early Sunday morning. 5 young men just coming from a party the whole night. They get stopped right on Mandela Avenue and Plaza Bridge, and all 6 of them got took out of the car and murdered execution style. Execution style. murdered 5 young men. I just want to know how we blame the devil for these things. And we got the devil walking. You can imagine the devil asking God for peace in a prayer. He suddenly turned Muslim. Embarrassing the Muslim faith. He should be ashamed. Them boys should be ashamed. You think I didn't know your story? Your dirty, stinking story? Me talk about I don't forget it. I lived them though in those times and I'm still living now. It's like fresh in my memories of yesterday. And then you calling for peace, prayer, a national day of prayer for peace. When you send home 3,000 public servants, put them on the bread line. Some of them still up on the bread line. 3,000 public servants. You knew what you were doing. You were putting the black community under a state of duress and oppression. But our only opportunity is to neglect our leaders and look to you because you're the one with the money. That's what you're doing. You love to do that. And you're looking for a national day of prayer. When you're going about the place doing the same things that you do all the time. And when you feel the pressure, you turn to the religious community that you pay $150 million to, the faith-based initiative, the FBI, back in 2001. You remember that? You pay them so they could take the congregation that is affected and teach them to sit down and hope and pray for changes. So they wouldn't revolt. So they ain't got nothing to do with revolt. They should sit down and pray. And they must drop to sleep whilst you doing the most heinous things ever to a human being or to mankind. And look, the demon. Hey, let me tell you something. When this almighty supreme being decide to whip you all, I tell you, you gotta stand aside. Cause them lashes and come real heavy. Yeah. Let me tell you something. Karma is a B. TCH. That's karma. And when karma comes, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Suddenly you just want the same people forgive your aid that you were cruel to. I know we like the pity poor people. You know how much people you got migrated out of this country because of your crimes, Mr. Ali and Mr. Jagdio. You know how much people left this country and decide not to come back. Do you know how much? And then you asking for a national day of prayer for peace? You have taken peace away from us. Look these demons, boy, look these devils. You looking for I don't know who you pretending to be. I don't know who you're fooling. You must be fool. I think you're fooling yourself, really. You're fooling me. You're not fooling me. Or we got too much of words to pronounce as Guyanese. We got too much words to pronounce. We so filled with them. We're sitting using them and we ain't doing nothing with it. You look it up, check it up. We ain't doing nothing with watch. Yesterday I spent all day in court and I sat down and I took a good focus of the system, the judicial system, and I now see why the innocent is always be in jail. Because you see, when you're not knowledgeable of the fact of your inalienable rights, the system takes it from you and they imprison you for being ignorant because you're not knowledgeable of the fancy words that they instill in the judicial system. Hmm? Sorry, my friend. Yeah, I know. Don't address them demons as Mister. They may know Misters indeed. They pass beyond the humanity stage. They're not human beings. You could imagine I sat down and looked, take a very, very good look, and I listened to the lawyer, which is my lawyer. I listened to the prosecutor, which is the policeman. I listened to the judge. And I sat down there and realized the regurgitation process. You got to know the words in order to regurgitate it over and over and over and over. It means to vomit. If you don't catch yourself, bro, you'd find yourself in jail for no reason at all. And I sat down there and I realized I was being prosecuted because of a freedom of speech. Yep, freedom of speech. Freedom of speech. Yep. Then I realized that my constitutional rights was on trial. I was reminded that yesterday. But you know, I told myself this, and this was my final understanding yesterday. I said, if I gotta go to jail, Gavin, that's it. I said, but I gotta die there because I don't know what I'll be when I come out. I can guarantee you that I wouldn't be a refined individual. There's no refinery process because prison wasn't designed for human beings. It was designed for animals and slaves. And I ain't gonna be nobody's slave. Believe you me, I'm not going to be nobody's slave. I am going to revolt. And I'm going to say this over and over. Every time I come on my show, I'm going to say this. The People's Progressive Terrorist Party was installed. They're a regime of terror. They're a regime that committed genocide in this country. They're the very first political party in this country to responsible for a genocide in the history of Guyana. Its leaders and attendants to its cooperation are terrorists and murderers. That's who they are. All of them. And who join up accepts what the regime does because you know it. take that to the Hague. But I had a conversation one day. It was a little while back. I had an officer of the police force who was a lecturer at UG. I never really found out what faculty he was, Mr. Garraway. I never forgot him. Got 8 names. He said to us when he was briefing us that afternoon, he said if the president gave him this country to run for 72 hours, would he do? And he said to us he would immediately halt the Constitution and make one line, one sentence: men shall be hung for stupidity. I now understood what he means. But if this Gavin Matthews, be elected by the people, if I get elected by the people, if I know my results tonight and I got swearing maybe a week from now, but me gonna wait till then. I can make sure the military and the police lock you inside your house. Cause when I swear, I can use my executive powers and put all of y'all in a nice little plane, chain them, I can get some suits that look like the colors and penguin, black and white stripes. I can make sure you got a 2-inch walk. The chain gonna be so tight as 2 inch, 2 inch by 2 inch. Put all of y'all on a plane. I hired most comfortable special plane for you guys. You got to go to the ICC. Me sending you to the CCJ, International Criminal Court. Well, I ain't gonna worry about you, Barrett. You are already being investigated by the same ICC for crimes against humanity. You know that special section in the Guyana Police Force that works with what's it again? I don't remember. Oh brother, they got this international police organization, Interpol. They know the information. They gonna come out and say it because he's vice president, so they ain't gonna say it. They can show me a piece of paper and they can say, look, there's no criminal investigation and blah blah black sheep have you many jack deals. They ain't gonna say that. But I can tell you that. And as for air fraud and Anil and all of them, y'all charges can come up. Executive powers. I tell you what. Yeah, man. Y'all got to go to prison. That's what y'all want. Immediate action. Must hold you responsible for the things that you have done. The inhumane things, heinous actions. Shouldn't feel sorry for you guys. You're a bunch of terrorists. I don't know why we're frightened, we're so afraid as Guyanese to call these people out. I don't know why. But you know the thing is that these people was not only evil to black people, they were even evil to their own people. And I don't know who really going on with them people they say. If you want to call yourself Indian brothers and sisters, you know Jack Dio was so cruel to y'all. And still is. and still is. But some of you prefer to see the reign of terror than to a black man rule in peace and tranquility. Some of you prefer that. I don't mind, that's your choice. But your choices must not intercept or interfere with another man's way of life. And that's what is happening. Because you knew that the party in question has never won the elections. Your choice is to encourage the maim and oppression of another race by saying nothing. By the same gang of thieves, terrorists, and murderers that occupies the helm of the PPP, the People's Progressive Terrorists Party, the PPTP. They are a bunch of terrorists. I know that. I can see the fear in the eyes of those who look at me. I can see the black brothers who look at me, who sees and knows the things that are going on behind the curtains of the PPP. Looks at me in absolute fear. Some of them even only fear for me in Alto. When they see me, they're so much afraid they don't even want to stand up close to me because they want nobody say, oh, you went stand up right close to Gavin. You lose your walk. You can see the expression of fear in the policeman's eyes when I look at him yesterday. When he looked at me, you can see the fear. You can actually see it. You can feel it. Poor policeman. Anywhere I walk and I go. If I say good afternoon, if I hear a respond, I got to be a bold person. Got to be a bold person or is independent person so they can't on work for go to for lose. I telling you, watch, you want to see craziness? I walk into a ministry for do any business. Everybody suddenly look like it's a hurricane or is a tornado just touched down. Presence of Gavin Matthews. Even to the same PPP people, they don't even want to look at me. Just put their head down. And I don't mince matters with none of them. But I want to say this, that we cannot all the time sit and accept this. This is nonsense. We must rebel against it, and now is that time. This is Dr. Matthews saying black love to you all. Since it comes to the end of my program, I want to thank all those who, to the single person who call in and vent their frustration, but to those who commented on the section, to those who share the live stream, I want to say thank you very much because they're not going to share Gavin Matthews. I don't know how they get into my system to delete all of my contacts on the Facebook so they don't get my notices. But it's okay. That too shall pass and I will prevail. I want to say thank you once again. Black Love is a brand that is owned by me, patented by me, and is available to sale on products. Call me if you're interested to support the funding of the Gavin Matthews show and the revolutionary process. To order these things, I want to say thank you. Stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself, wear a mask. Don't forget the little ones you take into public places. This is Dr. Matthews saying good night and Cheerios for now.